In a not-so-recent interaction between Bill Maher and Jordan Peterson, Bill made one of the most spurious statements you can ever think of about the Bible, put on, quote, comically stupid and corrupt.
I just love the way they love the Bible, and it's the greatest book, and they swear on it, but it has these things that are like comically stupid.
I mean, this is so ironic because anyone making such a remark about the most honest historical record in the world isn't just daft, but desperately so. It goes to show the extent of Bill's spiritual bankruptcy and the deficiency in his knowledge. This shouldn't be surprising because, of course, he is an atheist. So in this particular interview, posted on August 5th, 2023, Bill Maher challenged Jordan Peterson on the Bible, but he instantly regretted it. That, in a way, affirms his ignorance because whether Bill may or may not have read the Bible in his life, he probably did so out of academic or satirical reasons. You know, when comedians spend a lot of time poking at one subject of interest to have enough jokes to crack about it, that's what Bill Maher does with the Bible. And frankly, as you see it, Bill has gone too far in this direction, and Jordan Peterson had to steer his mind back on course with this discussion.
There's a very interesting idea that lurks behind the notion that you can establish a covenant with God. And you can tell me what you make of this. It's like it's a reflection of the fact that human beings bargain with fate all the time. We bargain with the future all the time. So and here's how we do it. So and this is what you teach your kids. You teach your kids that if you forego immediate gratification, so you give it up, sacrifice it, because that's a sacrifice, that the future will be better as a consequence. Well, that's okay. It's a contractual relate. Well, that's what's trying. Right. That's the thing that's so interesting is that it actually will.
If you don't have that piece of cake tonight,
yeah,
you'll be healthier tomorrow.
Right. And if you don't go off and play with your friends immediately after school, but play the piano for 20 minutes, then in 10 years when you're actually a musician, all sorts of okay. But it's this is something that's very uniquely human because human beings have learned that if we give up, there are certain forms of immediate gratification. If we give them up, which means we offer them up, it's a sacrificial offering, then we can make a covenant, a bargain with the future, right? That's what's being reflected in those stories where the notion is that you can bargain with God.
This was where Jordan Peterson gave Bill Maher a Bible lesson, where he listened with interest. You'll get to see how Peterson left the atheist Bill Maher speechless on the Bible at the end. In this discussion, Jordan Peterson emphasized biblical stories' fundamental significance, arguing that they contain profound psychological truths and universal human themes. He also highlighted the moral and ethical teachings found in the Bible, as well as the historical and cultural impact of these narratives. I know Bill is not a Christian, but I'm still unsure what Jordan Peterson believes. Peterson is known for his deep understanding of religious texts, including the Bible, and his ability to articulate the value of these texts from psychological, philosophical, and cultural perspectives. Peterson has also recently started a Bible series on YouTube based on the book of Exodus, and it's been reported to give profound insights into the subject. But that's a story for another time. If you're enjoying this session, do well to click like. Please subscribe to my channel because that's how you can help my work grow. In spite of his supposed broad accumulation of knowledge, it is surprising to see Bill still as deficient in biblical truths and interpretation. It is why you see people like him misunderstand and misinterpret the stories in the Bible. One of the main themes of their conversation was the importance of saying what one is called to say and the dangers of going contrary to it. Peterson, who is also a psychologist and a writer, shared his insights on the psychological and moral significance of the biblical stories, such as the stories of Jonah with the fish, as well as Sodom and Gomorrah.
I've been looking at the story of Jonah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a story that you'll appreciate. So here's what happens to Jonah. He's just minding his own business. And then the voice of God comes to him, and the voice says, you have to go to this city, Nineveh, because everybody in Nineveh is like, they've strayed off the path, and I'm thinking about wiping them out. But you could maybe go there and tell them like how foolish they are, and they'll straighten up, and then I won't have to destroy the city. And Jonah thinks, there's no goddamn way I'm going to do that. First of all, Nineveh is a city of his enemies.
Babylonia.
It's a city that he's not allied with, and so he thinks, well, you guys can go to hell in a handbasket, and if God wipes you out, that's perfectly fine with me.
Right.
And then he also thinks, like any wise man would, it's like, I see, this is the task you have for me. It's like, there's 150,000 people there. I'm a foreigner. I'm going to go there and tell them how they're misbehaving, and that's going to work out well for me. So he thinks, to hell with that, like any sensible person would. And he doesn't say what he has to say. Right. So then he hops on a boat and he gets the hell out of there. Well, it turns out that God's not very happy if you're informed that you have something to say and then you don't say it. So the storms come and the waves rise and now the ship's in danger. Okay, so what does that mean?
Got in the whale.
Yes, that's right. It means that if you don't say what you have to say when you're called upon to say it, you'll put the whole damn ship at risk. Now the soldiers figure this out, or the sailors, they figure out, there must be someone on the boat that isn't right with God, and that's why we're in danger of being swamped. So they will go and ask everybody, and Jonah, to his credit, says, yeah, it's me. I had the voice of conscience made itself manifest to me. I had a task to do. I refused it. I'm screwing things up. And the sailors actually try to save him, but it doesn't work, so they throw him overboard. Now you think, okay, Jonah's got what he deserves because he shut the hell up when he had something to say, and now he's going to die. And you think that's pretty damn rough. And partly what that means is if you hold your tongue when you have something to say, then you're going to put the ship at risk, and you'll be lucky if you don't die. All right, but that's not enough. That's not nearly enough, because that isn't all that happens if you don't say what you're called upon to say. So the next thing that happens is Jonah's drowning away. That's about as bad as it gets. And then this creature from hell itself comes up from the bottom of the abyss and takes him down. And so now he's in hell for 3 days. And so that's the next part of the story, which is that if you're called upon to say what you have to say and you refuse it, you'll end up in a place where you wish you were dead.
Wait, not the whale?
Yeah, it's the whale.
Here, Peterson is trying to make him see that the Bible is a valuable source of wisdom and guidance for human behavior and contains profound truths that are relevant to today's society. So basically, Bill Maher went on to challenge Peterson's claim of the Bible as a source of wisdom and guidance, saying that the Bible is comically stupid and full of absurdities. He gave examples of some of the illogical and immoral commands and stories in the Bible, such as the creation myth, the flood, the plagues, the sacrifice of Isaac, the stoning of adulterers, and the resurrection of Jesus.
The people who put their hand on it and love it so much have never read it. Certainly not all the way through. It's a big, long book.
Yes, it is. It's
full of mostly nonsense. Once in a while, it stumbles upon wisdom. But come on, you got to give these people their due. It was written as, first of all, it's an anthology.
Here you can see that Bill Maher questions the validity and morality of some of the biblical claims. He expresses his skepticism and criticism of religion and argues that the Bible is a collection of myths and superstitions that have no basis in reality. This is him trying to point out contradictions or inconsistencies in biblical texts where it doesn't exist. Bill Maher, in particular, is known for his outspoken and satirical commentary on religious beliefs and institutions, often challenging established norms and beliefs, and this often extends to religious traditions. He doesn't believe in the Bible as a compendium of God's divine agenda. Rather, he views it as a collection of ancient and at times contradictory texts, and uses critical thinking to question its literal interpretations or historical accuracy. That's the way Bill sees the Bible. Nothing more than comprehensive historical writing infused with anecdotes or fictional made-up stories to enrich its content. I know this because comedians, like all artists, often exercise their freedom of speech to express provocative or controversial viewpoints. Bill seeks to stimulate dialogue and provoke critical thinking about these topics by critiquing the Bible and religious beliefs. Thankfully, he's met with this resistance in the person of Jordan Peterson, who is doing what even most men of God lack the courage to do. When engaging with skeptics like Bill Maher, Jordan Peterson uses several critical points to challenge dismissive attitudes toward the Bible. He sought to demonstrate the complexity and depth of biblical narratives, emphasizing their enduring relevance and the insights they offer into human nature, morality, and society, such as how the events in the Old Testament served as prototypes of the works of the Messiah. Peterson challenged Maher's claim that the Bible is full of myths and superstitions by saying that the biblical stories are not literal, but symbolic and metaphorical. This is particularly interesting because people like Bill do not understand. Perhaps they do, but still fail to acknowledge that the Bible is a product of thousands of years of human experience and reflection and contains universal truths about human nature, morality, and meaning. Frankly, I know for an atheist like Bill, it might be difficult to absorb this, but he has to come to terms with the fact that Christianity is more than a source of inspiration. It is a guide for people, especially in times of crisis and hardships like this. Christianity has provided us with a sense of purpose, direction, and hope. It helps us cope with the challenges and uncertainties of life. It's difficult for people like Bill Maher to make peace with this reality, but who else is better qualified to show him this than Jordan Peterson?
Perfect, Bill, because what it shows, and I know you know this because you wouldn't speak the way you speak, and this is true of comedians in general. You know that you have a moral obligation, like a deep and profound moral obligation,
I do.
to say what you have to say. And,
You're right.
well, then you might say, well, what would happen if people didn't say that? Well, that's the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. If there isn't anyone who's left who is good and will tell the truth, then the whole city disappears. And the same thing happens in the story of Jonah.
Peterson pointed out Maher's view of Christianity as a thing of comedy and humor, and that it should be eliminated from society. He lets him understand that Christianity is a reflection of human nature. Still, in that same line of reasoning, you'll find many people arguing that the problem of the world is religion, and that the world will be better off without it. But they need to understand that the real problem is not religion, but ideology, which can be secular or religious. It's hilarious, and at the same time, thought-provoking how Bill couldn't hold his stake for too long in the interview. At a point, he broke into a burst of wild, uncontrolled laughter, which, out of many reasons, shows a faltering in his imbalanced arguments and a diminishing of wrongly held beliefs. In one other interview with Peterson, Bill had actually once tried to defend his atheistic view that religion is a cause of violence and oppression by saying that religion has been used to justify wars, crusades, inquisitions, witch hunts, slavery, genocide, terrorism, and other atrocities throughout history. He said that religion is a form of tribalism, which divides people into us versus them, and that it breeds intolerance and hatred. He also criticized Christianity by saying it does nothing other than provide people with a sense of false purpose and unbiased hope, saying that Christianity is a form of escapism that prevents people from facing reality and taking responsibility for their actions. One of the most spurious Bill Maher comments that totally blew the zinc off the roof was when he said that Christianity is a form of delusion, which makes people believe in things that are not true and that it hinders the progress of science and reason. My friends, this is absurd and faulty on so many levels. Comedians like Bill Maher often approach religious texts, including the Bible, from a skeptical and critical standpoint for several reasons, such as so they can make satirical commentary. Bill Maher has a skewed and skeptical view of the Bible because he values reason, science, and evidence over faith, tradition, and spirituality. That's why you see him questioning the validity and morality of the biblical claims or the existence and nature of God. Bill also enjoys using the Bible as material for jokes, parodies, and critiques, or as a contrast to the modern world. This revelatory interpretation of scriptures given by Peterson is what makes people like him very respected and valued today, and it challenges conventional, traditional preachers to endeavor to do more than merely giving sermons from the pulpit.